Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. With me today is my co-host, Big Jim McDonald from Canada,
Yeah,
Quebec.
Montreal, Quebec, Canada, to be exact.
And we were actually over the weekend. Nova Scotia came up in a conversation, and my wife said, "Where is Nova Scotia?" I said, "That's a good question." I knew where it was, and she said, "Oh, how many?" Because you don't have states in Canada. Is it provinces?
Yep, there's
Yeah,
provinces and territories in Canada.
yeah. So yeah, my wife said, "Oh, whereabouts is Nova Scotia?" I said, "I know it's right over on the east coast." And I said, "British Columbia is right over on the west coast." I said, "And there's a lot of things in between, but I don't really know what's there." So we got the map out and we had a look. We didn't realize how many provinces and territories there were in Canada.
Yep, yep, it's a big country.
Yeah, and it looks cold in all of them.
Yeah, we had, I think, at one point, we had, like, about 3 feet of snow on the ground. Yeah, it's a cold climate for sure.
Okay, Jim, let's go. Let's get into this topic. You said this one is going to be controversial.
It's
Controversial.
gonna
What the hell
it's
is that?
gonna be
You said this one is going to be controversial.
I don't know if controversial is the right word, but we might have a difference of opinion on this one, but today
Tell me your
is
lies.
my lies are most podiatrists should get off the blog post hamster wheel. There's a lot of people, some coaches, some marketing agencies, the internet will tell you to do it, but a lot of people jump right into blogging right away. And we're going to discuss today maybe why that's not the first step that you should do once you're doing things with your online marketing. I think there's some reasons why it's both a good thing and reasons why, like I said, it shouldn't be your top priority.
Okay. Where do you start? What should they be doing then instead? Because I know there's no point doing blogging if you don't have a website.
Yeah, exactly. So the first step I would say is that on the list of priorities, it's probably down around like number 9, 10, or 11. So the first thing
Ooh,
obviously is a website, number one,
yeah,
right? Like a website that basically, like you're famous for saying, when we look at your website, could I convict you of a crime? Do I have enough
yeah.
evidence on your website to convict you of a crime for doing that thing? So number one is just to build out a great website. It shows all of the services you provide, the treatment you provide, authentic photos, ways that some reviews, kind of these badges of trust, calls to action that allow people to make an appointment with you. That's the first level of a website. And then in my mind, it's more about doing relevant local Google ads. Search ads are important. Also working on the SEO, working on the Google business profile, email marketing, sometimes some Facebook ads. And then if you do down further on the list, if you do like to write and you want to do some blogging, I think it's fine. But I feel a lot of people jump to blogging being maybe the second or third thing that they want to do. And then sometimes it's the provider themselves that's going to be writing these blogs, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the top priority in my mind.
Okay, is this going to upset you if I agree with you?
Want to agree with me?
No, because yeah, like I'm always telling people, yeah, you should have a blog section on your website and you should be writing blogs. But I can't stand blogs that are just irrelevant rubbish. When
Hmm.
somebody feels, oh, I have to write a blog every week, so they just write it's just crap. It's just rubbish. It's stuff that they're not interested in. It feels, oh, I must just write something, so they put it out there. So I'd rather them not write at all than put rubbish out there. But I agree, all those other things should be in place, and then the blogs come later on.
No, I'm glad we agree on that. I don't think it's not too controversial there, but I think also there should basically be a page about everything that you do in your clinic as well. Sometimes if you're like, oh, am I ready to blog yet? Probably the test is, do
Well,
you
I've
already
lost you.
have a definitive, like best page in your local area or maybe even in your country that kind of describes that procedure that you do, that treatment you provide in really as much detail, or maybe like we talked about in the past, maybe having a lead magnet to if someone's at home and was curious about learning more about what it is, what some at home treatments they can do, or some at home ways of trying to take care of that problem. I'd really focus on that. And once you've like tapped all of those out, that's probably another sign that okay, maybe it's time to start blogging.
Yeah, so there's a difference between writing like evergreen articles and blogging. So
For sure.
what you're talking a lot about is, so if you, like I say, yeah, is there enough evidence on your website to convict you if what we did was a crime, or what you love doing in podiatry was a crime? So if you really like orthotics and biomechanics, then those areas of your website really need to be needs to have the information there.
And I think you can I think I see the blog as more kind of a way to have some updates. Maybe you bought a new type of laser orthotics in the office with like 3D printing or something, announcing that. announcing things you're doing in the local area. If you're volunteering or sponsoring the local diabetes walk, I
Yeah.
think there are ways to make the blog relevant. But like I said, I think it's kind of like lower down on that priority list once you've put time and effort into those things. Because the next kind of thing that the podiatrist is doing themselves is that when you're writing blogs, it's taking time away from doing something else. So you don't have to spend hours and hours writing blogs, but it can be a bit time consuming that for someone either that doesn't like to write, doesn't know how to use Chat GPT,
Yeah.
or doesn't want to pay a writer to do those things. I see a lot of, if you outsource it, that could be a benefit. But then I see there's a lot of services out there that are kind of these vanilla, not distinctive blogs, just five ways to treat heel pain that maybe should already be on the plantar fasciitis page. What's a unique way to connect with your local patients in your area is something that I think about when you're thinking about blog topics that can be a little bit more, like I said, updates and more news related as opposed to just simply more about the treatments or the things you do in your clinic.
Yeah, no, it's true because it is more like news related, what's relevant right now. Because one of the things, like when the Australian Open's on or the US Open or Wimbledon, I usually say to different coaching clients, if you want to write a blog about tennis, now is a good time to write it. I said each day, just Google injuries at the US Open or injuries at the Australian Open. Yeah, foot injuries. I said, they might say, I say Pete Sampras. Geez, that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Reason.
the kids in the audience may not know who him or Andre Agassi are.
Yeah, I know. They just popped in my head. Anyway, whoever say Djokovic, for example, if all of a sudden Djokovic has a foot injury and you know what that injury is and you've got some advice, writing a blog article about Djokovic's foot injury could actually be not a good blog article to write. However, I always say if you're going to write a blog article, you need to have all those evergreen articles and everything in place because within your blog article, you want to link them to other parts of your website so that they read this and go, I want to click on here. So that other stuff has to be there or otherwise the blog article is just a waste of time.
Yeah, they'll sometimes refer to that as newsjacking. Yeah, so you basically
Sounds illegal.
hijack. Yeah, you're hijacking the news story and you're providing some value to describe maybe what that injury is or a more detailed approach. And then, like you said, it links back to your website. So maybe someone trying to find information about that injury may find it and link to your website. So that can be a benefit. I think there's other ways, like I talked about. I think that's an interesting way. One of the other reasons why not to initially do blogging right away is there can be sometimes difficult to tell the ROI. Actually, for most things online now, there's a kind of a peak moment maybe 5 or 6 years ago when kind of everything can be tracked by Google Analytics or
Yeah.
Facebook ads can be tracked down to the last dollar spent. But these days it's a little bit more difficult to see, what that is through blogging and other things. Is this going to translate into increased revenue or positive return on investment? Is your time that you're putting into the blogs valuable enough? Is it creating things? Or if you're outsourcing these blogs to be made by somebody, is there ways to determine how many clicks you've gotten from that blog post and find if someone's made an appointment from there? So having these kind of attribution systems, like I said, they're not as reliable as they used to be. But if you can see based on the traffic numbers, or basically if you wrote an ad about or wrote an article about Djokovic's foot injury, or you can take a look on your Google Analytics and see, wow, like 700 people came to look at it or 1,000 did. But it's also tough to tell, were those patients local? Were
Yeah.
they someone from the Czech Republic or from Europe checking out this article you wrote? So it's sometimes a little bit difficult. It's not a bad thing to do. But sometimes it can be difficult to track down that ROI.
So you're not anti-blogging.
No, I'm not I'm not an anti-blogger. I'm a blogger myself, but I think it just like to for every season, right? And I just see it being as like a first line of, as some people like pushing as a first line of marketing. It's more to me like a second or third line.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean because you'll go to some people's website and it'll have their homepage and it'll have just a little bit of information. And then it might have some of the services they do. And you click on that and it might say 10 different things, but this one paragraph, it doesn't actually tell them anything about those services. But then you'll click on their blog and they've got 52 blog articles writing about all this different stuff that doesn't link to anywhere on the website because there's nowhere for it to go. And you go, wow, it was a lot of time you spent blogging when you should have actually maybe put that time into filling out more or building out the website a little bit more.
No, that's a perfect example. I think like we talked about, it's really about priorities. I think when I went on your show the first time, we talked about the 5 essential aspects of an online presence. And we didn't talk about blogging on that one for a very specific purpose. So I think if you love writing, I'm not trying to like dissuade anyone. There's definitely
Yeah.
can be some benefits if you do it in the right way. But for most podiatrists that have a busy clinic or managing staff, to really have a high quality, high traffic blog is probably pretty unlikely, because we're getting to the next reason is that there's a lot of competition these days. So there's a lot of people doing this news jacking. There's a lot of people hiring somebody out to try to do this. It's difficult to determine the ROI, but there's a lot of competition that's also out there. To really be unique, you need to stand out. So it's sometimes the niche topic or something that's local to where you're from. If you're from a certain neighborhood in Sydney, or you're volunteering at something in that neighborhood in Sydney, Australia, or in Denver, Colorado, that's when you're going to get a little bit more maybe bang for your buck when the audience is looking for those things. And like I said, if you do have a blog post, it can be shared on some of your social media channels, whether you have a LinkedIn account or you have a Facebook page. Yeah, these things make more sense than just what I always see, which is make appointment.
Yeah.
You could put this stuff in your newsletter as well, link to it. But like I said, it's to everything a season. And usually it's after your website's been cranking for a few years and you've tapped out these other marketing channels, and it's time to consider it. But there's a lot of competition out there, needless to say.
Okay, because you were doing a ranking before, where do you rank an email newsletter before or after blogging?
Much higher
Oh,
because
yeah, so
yeah,
do I.
yeah, because the recall you own a list of what between maybe 1,000 or 3,000 patients. It's going directly into the inbox. It's much more likely to be read and acted upon as opposed to just a blog post that you publish, and you're almost just hoping that someone finds it either through Google or you're utilizing, like I said, you can utilize it on some of these social media channels or within your newsletter, but it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be hoping for hundreds or even that much traffic just from a blog post. I think like this, we're getting to that last point we'll talk about today. And that's like there's a limited audience reach when you have blogs, right? If you're making it if you're newsjacking, you know that there's like a shelf life to how long that
Oh,
blog's going to
yeah.
be good for. So it's not like you can write about Djokovic in 2023 and maybe someone's going to search that in 2025, but it's such a short half-life that once again, you're better off having these evergreen pages on your website that the types of treatments you provide, maybe it's some type of new modality, going to details about those things. Maybe you put new stuff. A certain amount of this is not evergreen, and that's okay. But just realize that you're going to be like working against yourself. You want to try to bake stuff that's going to last for 5 years or 10 years, but that's really important. You can sometimes utilize the visibility is just the way Google works, is that these kind of timely do you want to be timely or timeless? So you really want to focus on those timeless articles before you jump in and doing these kind of timely blog posts.
Yeah, no, here we were at the beginning thinking we were going to disagree on this. And you even warned me beforehand. You said, Tyson, I'm going to upset you today. But you haven't upset me at all, because I agree exactly with what you're saying. And I know, like I've said to a lot of people in the past, oh, you need to be writing blog articles, because I know I've looked at their website and their website will be frigging great with everything else they've got there. And they're just not writing anything else. So I'm going to write a blog article, but also think going back to some of the stuff that you've written in the past and just type. Yeah, sometimes you'll write something now, you look back in 2 years' time, you go, what drug was I on when I wrote this? Because it's just not written well. It needs to be improved, or there's just things about it that you know that if I rewrite this, it could be better. It'll be more accurate with what's actually happening in my practice.
No, for certain. I think that's a huge point. It's not necessarily that blogging is bad or you shouldn't do it. It's where it stacks up in that priority list. I think, especially when you're approaching the blog post from that patient perspective. But I just see a lot of top 5 lists, top 10 lists of symptoms of heel pain or those types of things. And
Yeah,
I don't know, like maybe I'm in the minority, but I don't on the majority of podiatry websites I go to, or even other healthcare provider websites that I go to, my dentist, other places. I'm not really that interested. I can't remember a single time when I was looking for a healthcare provider and I came across their blog and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in the right place. This is where I want to
yeah,
go. It's really, to me, it is more those like pillar pages or those evergreen pages on the website. Oh, like my kid has a tooth problem. If they have a great pediatric dentistry page about how they treat kids and how they've had this training, those are the kind of symbols of trust I'm looking for. I don't want to go to a website, for a pediatric dentist and just see people my age or older. They may have, like you said, I'm treating pediatric patients as well, and it's 3 sentences on a pretty much blank page. Like it almost does the opposite. It almost instills like
yeah.
a lack of trust when you see like I've thrown together what should be like an evergreen, like best page on the internet about this topic if you really are treating pediatric patients in that way. So just my 2 cents. Like I said, it seems like we're on the same page with this, which is I thought we would be, but I just want to try to rile you up a little bit.
Oh,
But
no, but things have changed as well. You go back 10 years ago and everything was people didn't have a lot of content on the website. There was a lot of blog writing and they used to just pop up all over the place. But now you picture if every single podiatrist in the world is writing a blog article on heel pain this week, that's a lot of the same information getting put out there. So trying to target it, especially more locally to your particular area, because I know in Cairns, we will have the Cairns Ironman. We have different triathlons throughout the year. We have marathons that are on. We have horse racing events, which I did write an article on horse racing once. But if you can target some of the stuff you're going to write around news or what's happening in your area, more chance because that's what people are looking for in your area.
no, making it unique to your local area is what it's all about. Whether it be, like I said, you're volunteering somewhere, you've got some new modality, you've got something that really relatively important. The number one is going to benefit patients, right? That's the thing. It's like, how are they going to benefit from that? Or how will this build trust with the patient to see that you are an active member of the community? What I want people to get away from is that this FOMO or this feeling that I hear the blogging is the way and blogging is what I have to do. So I'm either going to, number one, sink a bunch of time into something where, like I said, either they don't like to write, they don't feel like they're a very good writer, they don't know how to use Chat GPT, so it becomes a time sink. So they're
Yeah.
spending time doing it. Or on the other hand, you have people that are, I think most marketing services providers in the podiatry niche are relatively straightforward and hopefully most are good. It can be something they just want to sell it to you. It's another thing for them to sell to you. And is that the best overall use of your money on these, like I said, these top 5 or top 10
Yeah.
things?
Okay.
So
It's something you said then that I've heard so many podiatrists say that, oh, I'm working with this online company. They're going to do my Google ads and they're writing blog posts for me and they're going to write 4 blog articles for me a month. So it's not a podiatrist writing, it's just some rando who's probably using Chat GPT or something like that, who's using it to write a very generic article. And you're paying for them to write these 4 blog articles for you every month. And the articles are really doing nothing, not really doing much at all. That is what's really under your skin, isn't it?
I think that
Oh, if people
the
could see
time,
you, the look on your face. You're like, oh, yeah, yes, that's what I really wanted to say.
no, it's a combination of the time savings and the cost savings, right? I want people, if they're going to invest in marketing for their practice, to
Yeah,
really get the most bang for their buck. And like you said, these templated or just generic blog posts, that's not going to move the needle. Talk to anyone that's had a successful podiatry marketing kind of setup, either with me or with other people. And I
yeah,
guarantee you, like no one is going to say, these blog posts changed my life. It's not going to happen. And I'm not saying they're bad, but there's definitely some things that can move the needle in ways that do benefit a practice, and nailing those things down first in that priority checklist, moving it down the line. And maybe, like I said, 3 to 5 years when things are humming along and you're wanting to write things or you just have so much money you don't know what to do with, you can buy those cookie cutter blogs from somebody. But for right now, I think most podiatrists would benefit from other forms of marketing first and foremost.
yeah. I don't know if I mentioned on here or other places, but yeah, when we had our website, when we had, say, a free book offer where people could download a book and in return they give us the email address and we'd nurture them over a period of time, I could measure exactly how much my return on investment was from that. That over a 6-month period, 500 books, 25% of people got orthotics, worked out about $90,000 of revenue that was generated from that particular activity. Had nothing to do with my blog writing.
Yeah, that's
So next week's topic that I'm going to talk about is how to write blog articles without burning out.
we gotta
That's
have
true. No,
debates
I'm going
on
to do
the
that.
show. We can't just
What?
talk past each other. Come on, we gotta like butt heads on the show. We can't just have these topics come on time.
No, it's okay. Everyone knows how to write blogs. But like you said, though, the part with blog writing is, I think if you're outsourcing it for someone to do it, like you said, make sure everything else is in place first, because otherwise you're just wasting your money. There's no point someone just writing a generic article and pumping it out there. It's not really going to do too much at all. And all my other computer friends say the same thing.
No, now with Chat GPT and all these AI writing things, like anybody can do it for free or like low cost. So if you're gonna do it, put out these generic articles, do chat GPT, edit it, and then just call it done. Because otherwise it's just, like I said, not a good use of time or money right now.
Yeah, it saves me having to do next week's topic on how to write blog articles without mentally burning out. We'll come up with something else. So have you got anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think that's it. Like I said, it's not blog writing is great. But just make sure that it's prioritized in the right order. And if you have any questions or if you totally disagree with me, I'd be happy to hear what you have to say. Send us a message. We're over at podiatry.marketing is our website. We've got a comment form there. Like last week, Tyson was trying to offend everybody and get everyone riled up. And this week, if you're a blog posting maximalist and you want to let me have it, just let me know.
Yeah, details coming soon. Okay, Jim, I look forward to talking again next week.
Sounds great, Tyson.
Okay, bye.